Hey, it's Adam here, and you're watching The Culture Hack, where we're talking about how to create engaged workspaces that unlock the potential of your teams and drive your business forward in ways you've never seen. So stay tuned. Hello, and welcome to The Culture Hack. Today, I'm super excited to have with me Wade Walker. He is the CEO and Executive Advisor of Intelligent Data Management, as well as DMC of the Data Management Conference. Welcome, Wade. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thanks very much for having me.
Today, I'm super excited to get a little bit technical with you because you're all about data, but kind of in a unique way in terms of how it applies to human resources and culture and people. So that's really interesting. But before we get into that, tell us a little bit about Intelligent Data Management. What do you guys do?
Sure, yeah. Intelligent Data Management is a consulting company, and it focuses on data. So that is everything from the identification and candidacy of data through business intelligence and analytics, data management, data governance, artificial intelligence, data science. So it's the end-to-end data consultancy. And personally, I work a lot with the executive teams and leaders in an organization across the organization, not just in technology, because technology and data are often grouped together. But data is not a technology. Data is an organizational or institutional asset. And the work that I do really is to position it as such and help the executive team and in some cases board members understand really how they can benefit from the economic characteristics of data.
Okay, fantastic. So you have this asset, this data, whether it's related to, whatever sort of people, the processes you do, the markets you're in, etc. But then what do you do with it? You might use technology to do something with it, to interpret it, to make decisions, etc. Something, did I get that right? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is often, technicians like I used to be, I suppose, we get called in, parachuted in to intervene on a problem, build a data warehouse or build some system or do something with data. And we're not addressing root causes. We are often pursuing vendor recommendations, and it's not necessarily a decision that's been based upon actually a really good understanding of what the business needs. The may or may not have been done, and there isn't necessarily a link to the organizational strategic framework. So the work that I do really is to kind of like to separate the I from the T and take that I into the boardroom. So just to, really work with the executive team, understand from a strategic perspective, what the values of the data and actually how to effectively, ethically exploit and monetize that data asset.
Interesting. So we're talking about, data as an asset. And now in your mind, a company that's really engaged like with that data and using it to drive results, like what does that look like in your mind?
Well, I think it comes down, in a sense, it comes down to really what we're talking about today, and that is organizational data literacy. This is a buzzword today. It's unfortunate, but it is kind of becoming a buzzword. And I find that a lot of individuals have difficulty actually expressing what that means, what data literacy means. And in a nutshell, what it is just an organization, on aggregate, or an individual's, to what extent they can use, interpret, storytell around, possibly represent in like a report or dashboard, data or analytics. In addition, it's also how far forward in the mind, I suppose, is a way of putting it, data is in the decision-making process. So are they evidence and data-driven as they make decisions, or are they still kind of stuck in that gut feel? The truth of the matter is gut feel is powerful. I mean, people have intuition, but having the evidence and the additional information to effectively drive that decision is really important. And I think that by developing literacy, then it also broadens an organization's capabilities and maturities, their ability to execute on their strategic objectives through the use of this data asset. And data illiterate organizations are characterized by data quality that is unacceptable, unusable, it's atrophying, it's on decline, and people struggle with use of data as a way to make decisions, or a way to gain insight, or to identify opportunities and seize them, or risks actually. So then the data literacy is something that if we can really focus on that through tweaking HR processes, then that will improve an organization's ability to execute.
I love that. I find it fascinating. And you talked a little bit about storytelling, right? Yes. So it's not just the data, it's not just having the technology to grab it, but then how are you communicating it? How are you telling it in a way that people can understand what it means for their day-to-day, or what it means for the decisions they're trying to make for the future of the company, or things of that nature?
Sure. I mean, storytelling is super powerful, I think human beings have been telling stories around campfires since, we were, able to communicate, probably. And powerful, a lot of cultural, the lore and history is actually passed on through storytelling. It's a very human thing. But the power really, when it comes to actually leveraging data as an asset and actually being able to execute on this, telling stories around data is actually very, very powerful to actually create a movement to, help with decisions, to help clients decide on something as well. Storytelling is very, very important, and that is also relevant around data.
And I love how in organizations, when you talk about culture, the language starts to propagate through the team. So if you're starting to talk about data a lot, and you're storytelling and showing what it means, then you'll start to see other people say, show me the data, or like, where's the data for this, right? And I think ultimately that's the kind of ideation that you want to get to.
For sure. And I mean, I think we can get into a discussion too about kind of my vision for, how HR now has a critical role in driving this. But the thing is too, is it's also how behavior is being modeled at the executive suite, right? Are we seeing that the executive suite is increasing their demands for reports and analytics and insight? If they're weaving that into their board meetings, their C-suite meetings, if they're and their decision-making process, and also it's also using the language. What's the language like around data? Is it very much a technology kind of angle to language? Is it that the data is not in a certain level of quality? IT is not doing their job. There's often this chasm between IT and business, and a lot of that is because of misunderstanding. And the truth of the matter is that every individual in an organization, every individual has a critical role in managing, governing the data, ensuring it's captured and enriched and protected, to the highest level possible. Data entry. You learn about a new update, and the client's moved. If you learn about that, you need to capture that within the database. When you're entering customer information, shortcuts are often taken just because, again, the fundamental link between me as a salesperson who has met a new client and the outcomes on the other end, reports and analytics, the ability to actually gain those insights that are so critical. There's a fundamental and a very intimate link between when we capture and input data and also in the outcomes when we actually try to use and exploit that data for some business purpose.
I love that. And you and I talked about a very relatable example of this issue with everyone responsible for the data, right? And it was Christmas cards, right? Trying to keep the addresses and phone numbers of people you want to send Christmas cards to. How hard is that? So you can imagine across an organization, you need somebody like yourself to set up those processes, understand how important every piece of data is, and if you're not putting it in properly, then the whole set is essentially not usable.
It actually degrades over time, right? So kind of my vision for for evolving an organization's data literacy, and I'm talking about a 10-year horizon, we're talking about human culture. That's not something the course can fix, right? But the truth of the matter is, well, first of all, our educational system has failed us, okay? Because by and large, there is, even today, we are bringing up all these leaders through grade school and throughout, and we're training them to be leaders. But we are in a data age now, and data is actually never enters into the educational curriculum unless you happen to be going down a technology track, and unless you happen to be doing that one database course. This is my friend Peter Aiken. He's president of Data International. This is his example. You have that one database course, and that's not even a data course. That is just structuring a database, the place where you hold data. So I think we really need to try to move, and again, I really agree with Peter's kind of storyline around this, is we need to move data down upstream in the educational system, and have our kids and our students working with data to actually make decisions as part of the curriculum. So part of what I do, I spent some time in higher ed, both as a leader in leading a large data team, but also as a chief data officer at a school here, is to actually weave data into actually all the programs, not just technical programs, but they're geology and sciences and we need, because data goes throughout. But biologists are using data daily. Actually, in every field we're using data, and there isn't a strength in our educational system to build in that competency and the understanding of really the nature of data, and also how to use it. So it goes back first of all to the educational system and weaving that in. And I'm working with a couple of schools today to, how we can change curriculum to actually weave that in. But on the other side, most of us learn data when we're out of school. Most of our executives, they learned on the job, or maybe they even didn't learn on the job. So there's this misunderstanding. So the work that I'm trying to do now, I find in 2024, I'm having this conversation frequently with leaders and executives in HR, is just through tweaks, through how we are writing our job descriptions, the pros that we have in our job descriptions, documenting accountabilities for capturing and enriching data, and to its highest level of completeness as possible. How we're orienting and onboarding people, how we're doing performance management and goal setting and those check-ins. Are there goals in there around this development of data literacy, or on the other side, are there goals there to increase certain metrics of data quality that are linked to the work that I do, right? And then following that, performance management, all these things. We also have incentivization. How do we incentivize people to exude these behaviors, desirable behaviors, and how are we compensating, right, around the realization of certain goals, right? Because we need to start rewarding people for actually doing that, because what they're doing is they are protecting and improving the value of the organizational data asset. Kind of a story that I often use is what if I were the person responsible for maintaining those big dump trucks in mines, right? Their oil, tire pressure, making sure the sensors are all there, and I'm not doing my job. I'm not doing any of that. And one day, those trucks going down the big mine, and it breaks down, right? Engine seizes or blows a tire or something, right? Something due to my neglect. It's there for maybe 2 or 3 days. They haven't been able to extract it. It costs millions of dollars a day, for that kind of problem in a mine. And so why should, I would be likely punished for that, right? For not doing my job. So why should me as a data professional, or someone who's responsible for taking care of the data asset, entering data or something, why should I be held to any less standard than a person who's not actually maintaining a capital asset? Because data is amongst, if not the most valuable asset any organization owns. It's also the most neglected.
Interesting. I love that point of view. So is this, part of this vision? Tell me a little bit about the data management conference
Sure.
and what you're doing with that.
Sure. Yeah. So I've been running conferences in Alberta since 2015. I've been kind of doing spring in Calgary and a fall in Edmonton. And just as COVID broke, I was halfway through the organization of my first conference outside of Alberta in Toronto. Of course, had to shut everything down. And we bring in some of the world's leading minds in technology and data, the people that have invented our industry, authors and leading minds in this. And they are really, I think they're extraordinary conferences. We get speakers who will come up to speak at a conference, and these are speakers who don't come to Canada normally. And so my conferences are really fantastic. I'm really proud of them. And I've also been, during COVID, I did webinars just to kind of keep my commitment to the technology industry in Alberta moving forward. And I was able to expand into, expert minds that I know in Europe, bring them into the webinars as well. So I am moving towards right now planning a data literacy event. It's going to be probably a webinar. I'm doing this with a number of partners, including the CPHR Alberta, and I'm hoping to work with CPHR, that's Chartered Professional Human Resources across. And that's going to be in summer. I'm thinking probably August. And it's going to be around data literacy. It's going to be around this discussion about where we need to move in terms of our educational system, and it's also going to be about those tweaks that HR organizations can actually start to do to, with a long horizon view to improving their organizational data literacy. We can measure that over time, but it's not something that's going to happen in the scope of a project, and it's not going to be something that we can affect only by training. It's much bigger.
I love it. So it's HR and data, like together at last, right? It seems like a long time coming, perhaps.
Indeed, and I think that partnership between HR and other groups is necessary. It's been going for a long time because of the chasm between business and technology and data squished together and put in the back room. Because of the chasm there, because technicians like me, have used jargon and acronym and blips and squeaks and bafflegab for time immemorial, and that has isolated us from the rest of the business, and that's why separating the I and the T, maybe filling the chasm with the information that they did. That's another metaphor too, right? That's another kind of filling that and bridging that, right? Bringing technology and the business team together, developing this data literacy, or as again Aiken likes to say, data acumen, which is a higher level of actually skill. This is a partnership between I guess technical resources and HR, and this is where I find myself in 2024 having a lot of conversations, which is fantastic.
I love it. It's like between the I and the T lies HR, right? That's like
Exactly.
kind of cool little image there. Well, I really appreciate your time, Wade. This has been fascinating. I have so many questions, but I really appreciate your time, and hopefully people watching this get some interesting gems out of the conversation, and they can reach out to you if they have more questions. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Adam.
Hey, thanks for watching The Culture Hack. Do you want to chat culture and engagement? Give us a call and come on the show.